Hello, everybody. Welcome to week two. And just to let you know, every week I plan on doing this video. I know it's I think it's helpful, and I would like everyone, by the way, to respond to make sure that they saw this video. My recommendation is that you watch this video when it comes out, which is going to be Wednesday morning. And right now I'm recording this on Monday, so there might be some activity tonight, but I am still on European time, so forgive me, it's a little bit strange. What I welcome contributions on Sunday and Monday, but actually I created that cadence just because a lot of people just cannot focus on the course until the weekend. I still hope that people spend time during the weekday to contribute, and I'm going to kind of walk through why. But let's talk about the big challenge. This is going to be a big challenging week. So, what is our goal here? Our goal is to get some data into a database. Many of you, I'm sure, are familiar with something like Excel. We are not going to use Excel, and there's going to be a reason why that I hope you discover on your own, just like you might have wondered why we're using Mural. And I'm hoping you're going to discover these things on your own. I might give you hints, but the point is still about practicing something that is sometimes not very natural and in fact sometimes challenging. So that's the word for this class is challenge. So last week we just got started. I think everybody got some great insight into the readings and the movies. It was all really great to listen to. Week two is about data. So many of you might not know about data, but you can see here we're going to start here. We're going to be here for at least 2 or 3 weeks. And what we need is some content. And whether you use the word data or content doesn't matter to me. If you use the word content, you might get more used to the fact that this is going to be dates and times and words and something that's a little bit more readable than it would be if it was just a bunch of numbers. So we're not looking for bunches of numbers. That is a different sort of data organization in terms of IA that we'll get to in week 8. Actually, that's data visualization. We're going to do content in a different way, but you need to go get some, and we have many people in this course, so this is going to be a fun challenge of how to manage going and getting data about topics that you are interested in. So if you go and read the readings, which you should, and you'll also see that this data project is going to be needed to be completed the week after next. So hopefully I got these right. Yep, I think these dates look good, but you probably want to read the data project right here about what I'm looking for. And this is all going to be done, by the way, in Airtable. So if you've never heard of or used Airtable, you are in for an enormous treat because it is one of the best things I've ever encountered. It's pretty amazing stuff. So let's take a look at week 1 before we get into week 2. In terms of the course, one thing that you might find interesting is what this is data. Okay, everything you're looking at sort of on a screen that makes some sense visually is just data in a database somewhere in Mural. How can you understand or organize that data? Well, you're trying to do it right now. For example, I learned over many years to create a template. This is a template. There's a picture and there's some text. Mural does not support everything. In fact, it's got a very limited set of things that you can do, but many of you played with it. You can draw arrows, you can do some fun things that we definitely will get to later in the course. But when you provide a template, things tend to go fairly well. You might notice these aren't particularly aligned. Pictures are bigger than others. Those things visually tend to attract attention. So when you get over to things like text, well, this is interesting, right? There's different colors. People decided to change some things to make it more individual. And all of the work here is fine. In fact, it's all good because it's getting you to understand a little bit about unstructured data. So this is pretty unstructured. And when you get here, it's even more unstructured. So very first taste of what it's like to actually organize information. Hi, how's it going? Janae's there. So just so we wrap up week 1, I do want to talk about how do I grade? Because you have a contribution grade each week. With so many people, I guess I can count and I can look at these pictures and say, okay, great, everybody did this. But I certainly know that not everyone did this. and not everyone did this. Now I said this is Monday, maybe tonight somebody's going to contribute, but look what's starting to happen too. Things are starting to get filled. So remember, I think I mentioned it in the, I know I mentioned it in our intro, and I know some have had difficulty viewing that Zoom call. And if you haven't viewed it, please try and let me know. But one thing that's important is to start here. Start at, where is it at? 100%. This is a good way to view things. I understand, and by the way, I'll get this out of the way. Oh, and the outline is also helpful just to let you know. This helps you navigate. So it'll actually take you to the different topics. So each of the topics is something I want you to contribute to, and I'm looking to see if you contributed to it. But I also want you to think about making sure there's room for other people. So we're going to get a little bit crowded, so I'm going to 100%. You can see at 100%, well, the text is quite readable, but some things might be a little bit too big or too small. We're going to work on that. And by the way, none of this work is actually going to be throwaway work. It's going to be work that is going to help inform you designing things later. So hopefully that made sense. Let's get out of here and talk about what we're going to do in week 2. So we're going to find data. Boy, is this going to be fun. So first of all, content. I'm going to start talking about the data that goes into a database. And if you've never taken a database class before, the way I'm starting here is to talk about these different fields. So the field is usually a name value pair. And that's, if you've ever seen a table, you might look at the header and that's your value. Maybe the value is first name, last name. Easy enough. And then every example in there, first name, whether it's an obvious name or it's something unintelligible, you might be able to say, oh wait, this is supposed to be a first name, right? You're given context. And then you're going to, for your assignment, you want to have, I'd say, not a lot of examples. I think I talk about 100 examples or something like that of different rows, which means repeating the same data with different values. I'm also talking about how many columns you have. So rows and columns become big. So if you've never understood Twitter before, I'm using it as a way to kind of explore the world's biggest database. So when you look here, you'll start to see that there's things like the geography. Time someone tweets, there's actually a geographic connection given as well. There's some sort of work to be done not only in the tweet, but who did the tweet and their attributes, if anyone's mentioned, and other things. So Twitter is just a place here where if you go to their advanced search, I'm looking for you to explore Twitter without using hashtags. So I'll just spill the beans. We're going to get to hashtags in like week 5. Hashtags are a whole, in a way, a different concept that we haven't gotten to yet. But I want to see about things like location, date, maybe user, other attributes that can help you find something interesting. And when you use this advanced search, you can also drag in a URL. I'll just try one right here. So if I just went to Twitter, where are we now? Twitter. Okay, and I had to join it. Let's do something. Well, I'll just do the link for twitter.com. So I'm going to copy using Control-C, and I'm going to paste. And so what it does is it creates something like this. Now, it's not the best example because we'll get into this probably again more in week 4 or 5, why this didn't work so well. But I'm just saying you can cut and paste URLs, and once you have a custom URL, it just makes a little preview for you. So that's a good way to share. Or you can do a text box and explain some things. All of it works for me. There's a pretty big area to explore Twitter. The real challenge for this week is how do you get data? So I will say there are 3 ways. You can just go to the templates in Airtable. So templates will need a lot more work to clean it up and get it usable, but they're quick because you can just push the button and say, okay, I'm interested in this kind of topic. Some of them tend to be fairly purpose-oriented. Let's just put it that way, like event planning or something. There's a lot of examples in Airtable. So think of that as the easiest way, but one will require you to alter that table, maybe add some examples. All these databases, by the way, will be added to. You'll add more fields to it. This is just a starting point. It's like a quick start. We need to get somewhere, and I don't want you to have you model anything because it's too hard. Modeling things in a database can be challenging to start. You're going to start with a model. So they have one. Now, Airtable's good, but guess what? The web itself, you can just go grab data from any particular place. And there is a tool up here, a few tools. Import.io, I think, is deprecated, but if you look at me, I'm giving an example of how it works. This is the 2021 version, which is interesting too. There we go, Simple Scraper. So this is just a plugin for Chrome, and any site that has data on it, you will be able to click a button and then you can basically point at all the data fields. It's pretty fun. You should actually try it because it'll be important later to know that the web is a lot of repetition and it's a lot of data. So there's a couple of web scrapers here. I think this might be a tutorial. Pardon me, I forget exactly what this link is, but we change and add things all the time. Now, if you're really, really good at this, you can just go get some JSON somewhere. That's fine too. Again, all you're looking for is a topic and example data so that you can get started. And that's basically it. And then what I want you to do is to share the link to your, oh no, I want you to say, what is the subject? So pardon me, I'm actually giving examples here. So my subject is perfumery. So I found this site. Where's my perfume? There we go. Here's my perfume journey. So you'll go on the journey with me. I did perfume because I was really interested in perfume ingredients. And I found a site that sold perfume ingredients, but I hated the way it was organized. So I scraped the data from it, and I'm going to do basically what you're going to do. I tried to make it useful. And so just beginning with is I scraped the data from, it's called Perfumer's Apprentice. So this is a fairly rambling, improvised opening for this, but I do want to know, basically what is the subject you're going to explore, and share your link to Airtable. And of course, if you're really struggling with anything, this is a challenge. I would start early, fail early, which gives me time to help if I can. One thing about the reason I'm shooting this on Monday is that toward the end of the week, there tends to be a lot of other people commenting. I tend to do most of my comments early. So if you, for example, if you went back to week 1 and you came in, let's say on Friday or Saturday, come on, week 1. I'm not going to do too much course correction toward the end of the week. It just gets to be too much. But early on, you can start to see comments I've made, and I would actually look at those based on other people's work, because then you might get an idea of, oh, you had a thought, and maybe it helps you change that thought a little bit. Or you can comment and collaborate with the person who had this idea. And so there's hopefully things here we can do with such a large class. So I'm still trying to make sure you all get individual attention, but at the same time, there's only so much I can do, especially toward the end of the week. So that's my introduction. There'll be one of these every week. Hopefully it's helpful. If it isn't, I would like you to reply and say that you saw it or you heard it and it came through okay, because I think it's helpful. Thanks so much. Enjoy.